Hello, listener. My name is Indrid Cold. What were you hoping to hear? A podcast about creatures or the unexplained from two suspiciously qualified individuals? I know you were. I've been watching these two for long enough. Let's listen in as Dave and Austin take you on the tour of the inspirations and theories behind pop culture's most interesting monsters. Welcome to the Cryptid Cast.
And she looked up and she said, when I seen them big red eyes, she said, we were out of there. Can't tell you what the rest of it looks like.
My mama said it was worse than the Frankenstein monster.
Hey, I don't know if this thing is spraying the market's territory or if it's just spraying when it gets mad like a skunk would.
Hello and welcome to the Cryptid Cast. I'm your card-carrying cryptozoologist, Dave Chaffins, and joining me is my favorite son of a Mothman, Austin O'Connor. How you doing, Austin?
I'm doing great. It feels weird, man.
Feels weird.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. We're taking it back. We spent a year doing a West Virginia history Fallout 76 creatures podcast, and you can go and find the archive of all those episodes beforehand.
That's an interesting way to put it, the way you described it.
West Virginia history Fallout 76 creatures.
A lot of just random, there's a lot of stuff in between.
It's like West Virginia in review.
Yeah, with a lot of embarrassing stories.
Yes, with plenty of
Dad jokes.
personal flair.
Yeah.
That we will see some returning of within this podcast in this form. So, if you're not familiar with us, we are two guys from West Virginia up here in Charleston, the capital, as I like to call it, the cryptid capital, since we have the most cryptid sightings in the history of the world.
Really?
We're the capital of cryptids here.
They
We get the Golden Dome for the cryptid capital of the United States and the world. Well, think about how many cryptids are here. I mean, that's the real thing.
Yeah. Or were here, I guess. They all kind of moved out. Or are they still
Or are
here?
they
I
still
don't know.
here? I mean,
That's true.
2017 was I think one of the sheep squatch sightings.
Which we have a whole episode about.
We have a whole episode about. But then they had the Bigfoot sighting up in, what's that town called?
Sutton.
Yes.
Still skeptical about that.
So we ended up our relationship, our this brotherhood, this uneasy alliance.
See, you say that, but I don't know. I don't think it's uneasy.
What do you think?
I
It's
never
uneasy?
thought it was uneasy.
Why?
I think we're just two lovable, loving guys who just enjoy each other's company and friendship. I've never thought it was uneasy.
Look at you. You're such a softie.
I just feel.
You're so
I feel
sweet.
just. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed when you say that. You know,
man.
it really
Well,
hurts my feelings.
I take it back. I apologize, and I take it back.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
So our friendship started about, I would say, 11 or 12 years ago?
Nah, I was like 16 or 17, about 10 years. I'd say about 10
10
years.
years? Yeah. We ended up meeting in the small town of Bluefield by mutual acquaintances that worked at a grocery store. Over the years, we have maybe seen each other once a year until we ended up living on the same street.
Yeah. Well, I'm one street.
I
over,
mean,
but same block basically.
Same situation.
Yeah.
And we have had a brotherhood for several years of going back and forth between a bunch of different activities and stories.
And we both love nerdy things.
We're both
That
big
helps.
into nerd stuff.
Yeah. Which I take pride in now.
Yes.
You know, I used to think maybe I shouldn't be this way. Why am I the way I am?
I just lived my life.
And then I'm like, yeah, I like
I'm
this
true to
stuff,
myself.
But honestly, being a nerd is like the thing now.
nerds are cool, man.
I'm so jealous of high schoolers now.
Yeah,
Like
now nerds
being
are
weird
cool.
and being
Yeah.
like just kind of a lame kid is in now.
Right.
Whereas 10 years ago, we didn't have that luxury.
You were 100% right. I think it's the Game of Thrones effect, where like ever since Game of Thrones came out, it's like really cool to talk about fantasy.
Yeah.
And there's other things like that, like
Right.
Star Wars
Yeah.
and
I don't know.
comic
Yeah,
books and
yeah.
like all this different stuff.
Well, you
That's
know
a good-
what? We walked so they could run.
We did.
I think that's the way we should look
that's
at
a
it.
great way to put it.
Yeah.
I think that's enough of an intro for us. I think that.
I mean-
if it is your first time listening,
Yeah.
and to this podcast, if you're just listening to it the first week that it's released, then this is everybody's first time technically listening.
Yeah, but we have some returning listeners from previous
our sweet,
endeavors.
Wonderful audience. That's so nice, and
we hope that
following
you will,
us on this magical, mysterious journey.
Yeah, it's gonna hopefully be a smooth transition. We hope that you will stick with us.
If you have listened to and liked the episodes previously, you will probably like these. That's all I've got to say. So, how was your week going?
Week's going good, man. It's hot. Listen, I don't know if I might be in the minority on this opinion.
Are you giving us a minority report right now?
Personally, I think that summer is the most garbage season. I think I said this last year too. I hate summer.
Yeah.
In school, it was awesome. Oh, we're not in school. We can lay by the pool. Yeah. When you have a job, it just sucks. I don't want to have to walk to work and like feel like I need to shower when I get to work.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to feel disgusting.
I agree. And then like most people, at least when I was a kid, like you get to the pool at like maybe like 11.
Yeah.
And you go home at 2 and you
make a sandwich, you take a shower and then you nap and it's like the best. Oh man.
Maybe you have dinner like 6:37, and then at like 9 o'clock, it's time to go out and like play out in the yards and play with the friends and all that stuff. This time it's like you get back, you want to work out, and it's like, man, it's really beautiful outside. I might want to run. Then you step outside, and your car thermometer reads 110. You're like,
Yeah. The other day, I drove home from. I went to the store, drove home, ran inside real quick to get something. I was inside for like 10 minutes.
Right.
Come back out to leave, and when I turned my car back on, it said 114 heat index. Now, obviously, it wasn't, but I was like, man, I'm just ready for, like, I think my ideal thing, like hoodie and shorts on a Sunday morning, going to grab some food somewhere, just like casual hoodie short combo, 55 to 60 degrees out, 55 degrees. I'll say 55 degrees. Just a real light breeze. It's not cold. Man, a fall day.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, man. I can't wait. That's when I thrive.
Is fall?
From like end of September to like middle to end of November is when I thrive.
Right.
There's no better time. And it's football season.
Fall brings two of my favorite holidays, which my favorite holiday and always has been my favorite holiday has been Halloween.
I agree with that. I think.
Halloween is my favorite holiday, and it's a very simple reason is that everybody can celebrate Halloween however they want.
Yep.
If you're like a big social person, you go out to the party, dress up, do whatever. If you just want to sit inside and eat candy and watch a scary movie, you can. If you're not into that, then like you can just eat candy.
Yeah.
And if you're a kid, you get to go get candy from everybody in the neighborhood.
There's just this. It's like unexplainable. I think there's just this. The atmosphere changes around Halloween. It just feels. It's just spooky. I don't know. Like you're in that spirit.
We also live in a good neighborhood for that, and we this year. This year was low numbers. This year we only had about 300, but the year before we had about 500 trick-or-treaters.
It wasn't cold though either, was it? Wasn't it pretty warm?
It was still pretty warm. It felt really nice. Normally I sit outside on my porch and have like a cider whiskey combo.
Yeah.
And just chill and give out the kids like one, and they get like one tiny piece of candy because candy is freaking expensive.
It is. That's why I'm glad I live in an apartment. I don't have to deal with that. I don't even have to feel the guilt.
You should come up and experience it with us.
That's true. I think I should. I meant to last year.
Just like that's all it is we just sit outside and...
Yeah. There was this guy in my neighborhood when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And he put all this stuff out in his yard because his yard was a maze, basically. He had so much stuff out in the front of his yard and like a little pond and all this other stuff. So it was terrifying going to his house. So then when I got old enough, I was like, I want to take part in that because he would scare the you-know-what out of kids. And I wanted to experience being on that side of things, scaring people. So that was my Halloween every year in high school. I would go to this guy's house and like help him and his wife just terrify people. Like jumping out from behind things and like acting like, you know how people will set something up on their porch next to the bowl as if it's someone giving stuff out, but it's just a dummy?
Right.
Like we would do that. So people would think that you're fake. And then
and then you'd spring to life like...
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, we're really excited with this. This whole conversation just sparked from me saying that I hate summer. But So we definitely just got
Hate
derailed.
summer, love Halloween.
I love Halloween, so
and
now
sitting
everybody
on the
loves.
porch and scaring
Yeah.
children.
Is it that much of a surprise that two people doing a show about cryptids love Halloween,
Love
more than any
Halloween
other
and hate
holiday?
summer?
Yeah. So, but Halloween's cool, but it's just too hot this week, man. But But to answer your question, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I've spent a lot of time this week. If now, when this episode is released, it'll have all these fantastically crafted by me, written by me. I don't have to use any stock media, sound effects, and music. So I'm very pleased that I meant to do that with our last podcast, and some of it was me just playing a lick on something to do a transition, but most of it was the main part was stock media with just me speaking over it. But this time around, it's more like homegrown, doing something. It's been fun to play music. I've been enjoying that, playing a bit of music, getting out all the stops, getting the keyboard, the bass, the guitar, and learning a bunch of different sound effects and testing my limits of what I can do, because I definitely have limits of what I can do. I'm not
learning.
I just do it off of my old MacBook from 2011 that has magically survived
That thing is holding up strong. It's been through a lot, I think.
I got it. I got this MacBook in 2011. So I mean, it's almost been what year is
8
it?
years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Wild, crazy.
We're good at math.
So that's mainly what I've been up to, other than the basic woes and throes of life.
Yeah.
I want to introduce to you a brand new subject on this podcast.
Well, I mean, this is the first episode, so everything's a brand new subject.
Everything. Yeah, that's true. Everything is a brand new subject. So, Austin, I'm laying down a challenge for you.
All right, shoot.
Every week, I want us to bring a headline from the world of cryptids and bizarre news to this podcast to discuss.
Does anything that starts with Florida man count as?
If it is like otherworldly, spooky, current event situation that is happening.
I think that anything that starts with Florida man typically seems to be otherworldly. So I'm just kidding. We'll see. Maybe I'll try to tie the two together somehow.
I think that you will. But this week I went ahead and brought my own little
Let's hear
headline.
it. Let's hear it.
First, we gotta cue the sound effect. Austin, I've got breaking news for you. This week, if there was ever a story in need of a what could possibly go wrong lead in, this is it. A story broke this week that an Israeli spacecraft, which crashed on the moon in April, was carrying tardigrades. They are indestructible 8-legged water bears that have been found on Earth in extreme conditions where no other life form can survive. So they're a nano animal. I think they're micro animals, a microorganism.
Yeah,
that's what you call them. Nano animal. I like that much better. They're nano animals now. Yeah. So they've been tested, and they are actually Earth's first life forms to survive in the vacuum of space. And get your what could possibly go wrong sign ready. And they have appeared to survive this crash on the moon.
I did hear about that.
So the Israeli ship crashed due to a malfunction. However, it was definitely of concern to these people because part of the mission through the Ark Mission Foundation was to create a backup of planet Earth on the moon in the form of a DVD-sized digital archive containing 30 million pages of information. Let's call it a Life on Earth manual. And get ready to hold up that sign again. Human DNA samples and thousands of dehydrated tardigrades.
Somebody tweeted about it today, and they were like, y'all have clearly never paid attention to any sci-fi movie ever.
So they sent enough DNA to the moon to regenerate life on Earth if necessary, although it would require more advanced biotech than what we currently have. Yeah. At least our DNA is off-site now. But note that cells and DNA cannot survive or reproduce on the moon, yet if retrieved, they could be useful. So what we have is this. I looked up tardigrades, like what they were. Yeah. They can survive in 1 degree Kelvin, which 0 degrees Kelvin is the coldest like you could possibly be. That's where everything stops. That's where electrons stop moving.
Yeah. So they can survive basically anything.
They can survive 1,000 times the regular radiation that a mammal can, and they can survive in temperatures up to 300 degrees Celsius.
So if these things ever somehow produce something way larger, we're in trouble.
Well, they call them like sea cows or something like that.
Yeah.
And these things look like sandworms, like from Dune.
Yeah. I remember seeing the photo, but they're so like microscopic.
They're microscopic. Right? But if something with their habitat and them being on this planet, because generally it's all about endemic life forms when you're on these separate areas.
Yeah.
They could grow very large or very small. That's the thing with like the idea behind King Kong is a great thing. Like this ape was separated from everyone, lived on this island, got to be a big boy.
Yeah.
A real big boy.
Well, we're just gonna look up and see things on the moon one night. Like there's just gonna
There's gonna
it's
be
gonna be like new figures on the moon. That's what could go wrong?
just we got a bunch of moon cows that have our DNA.
Space Force, you're up.
Space
We're gonna
Force,
need you.
Space Force, you were up. Let's call them up, get them up there to take it down. And now a word from our sponsors.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you like bad movies?
Do you find yourself defending bad movies, saying things like, well, the soundtrack was okay, or the costumes were pretty fun?
From the previous hosts of It's Not That Bad podcast, we bring you Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast, from Simone LaRue and Chad Ekovitz.
Every week, we review 2 movies that did not do well critically, but we say, hey, there are some nice things about them. Maybe Rotten Tomatoes was wrong.
Maybe they're all fools, and you should watch these movies regardless. We'll also talk about scenes that could have saved it, and we'll often refer to Simone's cats because they're amazing and adorable, and we love them.
And at the end of each review, we will tell you whether we would watch this movie again, or in what circumstances we would recommend you watch this movie.
So, join us on July 9th for the first drop of our main episode, and then 2 days later for our drop of our minisodes.
And on Robots Radio Podcast Network. Come see us on July 9th. We love you so much already. Bye!
Welcome back, listeners. This week, as our first inaugural subject to launch this fantastic podcast that's going to top the charts, we're going to be on Billboard. We're taking down Taylor Swift. Oh, wait. No, that's not right. Is that not right? Did I mess up? You're giving me a real grin here.
Oh, God.
All right. So this week, we are discussing a creature of repute fame. I don't know if that's the right word. It's just of fame, infamy.
Your dad level has hit new highs.
This week, we are talking about
I'm disgusted.
the Demogorgon from
The
Stranger
Demogorgon?
The Demogorgon. That's a hard word to say. I have been trying to say it right all week. The Demogorgon from Stranger Things.
Uh-huh.
So, Stranger Things is a hit TV show off of the Netflix platform about kids and in this small town that have an occurrence with the supernatural via a psychologically empowered girl named 11 and an alternate dimension.
I will be honest. I would be willing to bet that 0% of our listeners haven't seen Stranger Things.
I would say that
I would wager that like most of them
most people have
probably
seen,
know more than I do about it.
Right. That's why I'm not going to go. I'm not going to run through the plot lines. I'm not going to set up everything. However, I can tell you that it's my favorite TV show.
It's good. It's good.
I think that there is, I don't know, here recently, like getting the kids involved and like having a drama involving children is like kind of like throws it back to Goonies or something for me.
I think everyone, it's the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers like their sense of adventure as a child, and I think this, especially with Stranger Things, just the 80s, the aesthetic of everything and the memories and just the nostalgia is such a key role. It's so funny because I love it, even though I was born in the early 90s, so it's like we missed the 80s. We just barely missed being born in the 80s. But
those are the movies that we grew up on because that's what they had at the Blockbuster when you go out there to rent the movie.
We, even though we were born just outside of the 80s, we've been so ingrained with 80s culture, and our parents, they were teenagers or in their 20s in the 80s. So it's like we definitely like when I was growing up, on like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, if my mom was cleaning the house or something, or we were cleaning or doing something, like we always had like an old 80s movie on or something. So like I would always, so that whole, I think everything's cyclical, obviously. And I think 80s culture, 80s fashion, stuff like that, some of it's making a comeback. So then that also applies of like people just being very much into that style of things. So it's, man, I think just the nostalgia. And then like you said, just something about kids in something.
I think that's the magic of that show. But I wanted to discuss this week the monster for, and I don't want to talk about spoilers for season 3, even though I've seen it, you've seen it, and a lot of people have probably seen it. And this monster really particularly isn't as present in season 3 as it is in season 1 and 2.
Is it not though? Is it not? Is it different? That's what I still have questions.
Well, I have some answers, and I'm sure that you have some answers too.
Yeah.
So the Demogorgon is a interdimensional predator. That's the best wording I can come up for it. It is able to sniff out blood from across dimensions. It's able to travel across these dimensions, find the people. Essentially, I'm not sure if he eats them or she eats them. But I do know that the purpose is to reproduce, kind of like Alien. It's like this is supposed to go through, use these people as their life force or something,
right?
And create more Demogorgons. So I wanted to talk to you about a few of the powers that the Demogorgon has. So the first one that I mentioned, and I think one of the things that make it a very crazy predator is it's able to create portholes and do interdimensional travel. So here's the thing about the dimensions. In the show, you have the real world and the upside down. So I'm about to throw you for a bit of a loop here. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking up, how would one go about traveling between dimensions? Like what's in theory, because everything is like in theory, what would this and that be? And there was a lot of different theories. One of the theories that I like the best was essentially looking at time as through like Schrodinger's cat. So Schrodinger's cat is essentially, he put this cat in a steel box and created this contraption where at any point it had a 50% chance to live or die, like constantly. And so when it was put in the box, nobody knew whether it was alive or dead, so it was kind of in between. There would be like, is it alive or is it dead? And it's like, well, it's
both.
It's both.
Yeah.
And so essentially every decision that we make in this theory creates an alternate reality in which, I chose to wear the red shirt today as opposed to the blue shirt. There
are infinite different dimensions of reality in like every moment.
Right.
Yeah.
So with Stranger Things, there's only 2 realities that they show off. But if you were to travel between realities, there's this idea of the reality tree. So there's a singular or a few singular realities that started at the very beginning of time. And as they branch off, it's like a big tree. It's like a giant, like you have the very like root of it, and then it grows off and branches off, and each path has branches, and all those branches have twigs, and all those twigs have leaves.
Yeah, it's just infinitely expanding.
So beings from higher dimensions, like closer to the root and the main like log of it all, are more easily able to travel to dimensions that are on the lower totem pole, like leaves and stuff. And the leaves could obviously get back to, like they can only go back as opposed to, from their perspective, they can see it all in front of them. So my theory is that the upside down is really a higher dimension that these beings are from, because obviously it's a little more, they have a little more power on that side of the lane, and being able to just freely go back and forth and essentially create these, they're like tunnels almost. In the show, they create a tear that is the opening, like, we're going to go to this dimension, and then the Demogorgon finds out about the tear, goes into the tear, and is like, oh, so this is where it's at, and then is able to create little tiny holes that he can burrow his way through and come out.
Yeah.
But my theory about the Demogorgon is that the Mind Flayer is actually the one that controls him. So you've had the smoke monster, which they end up calling the Mind Flayer, and it has telekinetic powers, all this stuff. I think that a lot of their going between the dimensions is connected to the Mind Flayer itself. Okay. Because apparently in Dungeons and Dragons lore, the Mind Flayer is supposed to be a being that wants to control the multiverse. So these Demogorgons are like the soldiers of them. Yeah. Now, if you see where I'm going, if this Demogorgon is from a higher plane and can travel between these dimensions, and they're the bad guys, who's the good guy?
Like who is stopping them?
Well, who would be like a being from that dimension that would come and try to do good? The answer, to my knowledge, would be the Mothman.
Jesus.
So
that was a quick. I was wondering how long it would take on the new show before Mothman
comes out. I'm throwing out. I've got some deep cuts here. So obviously Mothman is an interdimensional thing. By the way, this is expecting you to know some of these cryptids. So Mothman obviously is from the 1960s. Wasn't that the 60s or the 50s? 50s and 60s. In Point Pleasant, predicted a bridge collapse and had a few sightings in the state of West Virginia and a few in Virginia, and then was in Chicago a few years ago or something. Moth-like creature flying above a car.
He was in Chicago recently.
He was in Chicago. People saw him in Chicago. I've done extensive research on Mothman. He's seen from Chicago to Chernobyl to the Amazon to he is.
Did something happen in Chicago recently that was?
It was just back in the 80s, I think, or 70s or 80s. Oh, okay. I don't think it was recently.
I thought you meant like it was a few years ago. I was like, what did I miss?
So I think that the Mothman is from a higher plane. After looking at this portal travel and knowing the outcomes, that's my theory.
Okay, well you stick with it.
So
proud of you for putting your thoughts out there.
He can go through portals. That's the most confusing part of it. Wanted to slide that one down.
Okay,
real quick.
Yeah.
Next one is its reproduction stage. So it's interesting. Now you'll like where this is going. So it has 6 stages of how it reproduces. So it's got to be a larva. It's got to start as a larva, and each larva has a host. So in the show, Will is the host for a larva in season 2.
Man, Will's been through it, man.
And he puked it out in the sink, and it all went down. I think that was season 1. He puked out the larva, and it went down to the sink.
Will, I seriously, especially this, no spoilers, but season 3, I was just like, man, please tell me they're going to give my boy Will at least one season of a break.
Get him a haircut, for God's sake.
Stop with the bowl cut. I mean, but hey, man, that was the style. But just, it was like, man, you guys hate Will. Like, what did he do? Like, what did he do to you? Nothing.
He's the nerdiest of the nerds. Is that what he is?
He's my least favorite character on the show.
Yeah, mine too. Poor little Will, little guy.
Mike is my second least favorite character on the show.
I kind of like Mike. Who would be my favorite? Obviously, Steve Harrington and Dustin. Like that.
I think those are my 2 favorites.
That duo is
they're
the bomb
golden.
diggity.
Yeah,
I aspire to be like an older, married, more washed up version of Steve Harrington.
Yeah.
That's like my life goal.
Well,
I'm working on the hair right now.
In real life, he's older than us. I'm pretty sure.
Joe Keery?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like 27.
He put out a song recently, and it's pretty good. It sounds like something I would like. I need to listen to the full album. Go check that out.
Okay. Yeah, everybody.
Shout outs. Yeah. Shout out to Joe Kery and his album. He has an interesting Instagram presence and just kind of like posts whatever.
Yeah. Is it Kery or Carey?
Kery. I don't know. Pronunciations, man. Come on. Query or whatever.
Never been good with those.
Nope. So stage 1 is the slug. Stage 2 is a polywog, not a polywag like the Pokemon.
Yeah.
The polywog is a small tadpole/slug thing that grows front legs. So you get to see that in the show a little bit. It like has a little. It goes around, and I think it eats a few little things, and it's just like this little like big old sluggy tadpole.
Yeah.
Stage 3 is the Frogagorgon.
Did you just make that up?
Nope. It's the Frogagorgon. So its skin takes on a dark green color, and that's when it grows teeth, and it grows back legs. So it's like a little frog with teeth. Stage 4 is the Catagorgon. The Catagorgon skin is darker.
There's
than
no way that this is a real thing.
It's real.
There's
It's 100%
no
real.
way.
100%
I know
real.
you, and I know the things that you come
No.
up with. That you came up with this.
So the skin is darker, and that's when it has this like signature flower mouth. And when it becomes the Catagorgon, the flower mouth starts. That's when people start seeing the flower mouth. Then it becomes stage 5, which everyone's more familiar with, the Demogorgon.
Oh my God. That sounds like Dale Dimmadome.
Dale Demogorgon coming down here from the diddly-doo house.
All right, let's just keep it going because I'm ready to hear your names that you definitely made up, but you won't admit you made them up.
Stage 5, Demogorgon. So the size of the creature reaches that of a large dog. It has increased strength. That's where it's able to burrow those tunnels and has aggressive tendencies. So those are some of the enemies. Those are some of the enemies in season 2 when he gets that bat. When Steve Harrington gets that bat and he starts swatting at the little Demodogs.
Yeah, the Demodogs.
Demodogs. That's what he calls them.
Yeah.
And they have the one it's kind of like, and then Jurassic World kind of copied it where they're like, hey, Blue. Hey, Blue. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what he calls that little one. Something. It's like Stinky or something.
I don't think that's what it is. We're keep moving though.
And its final stage is the Demogorgon, which, of course, walks on back legs, reaching heights.
We're having a day
of 6 to 10 feet. One of the interesting things about it is it's very regenerative, and so even if it's like shot a bunch, it can just pretty much regenerate. And the theory is that it contains macrophages that are also very similar to salamanders. So the stages that it goes through are the exact stages that an amphibian goes through in its life cycle. It starts as a larva, goes into a tadpole, goes into it goes through all this from the water. It can go on the land. Except the final stage, obviously, it doesn't turn into a cat, dog, and then a giant thing. But it's the way it's supposed to go. It's very similar to a salamander. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this one, if you've listened to episodes before, this boy's a gulper.
See, I was gonna say it. I think you just killed Gulper.
No, I didn't kill Gulper.
We gotta bury it now.
No, it's not. It's good.
We
it's
gotta
a Gulper.
bury it. No, we gotta bury it.
The boy is a big old
R.I.P.
Gulper.
Gulper. Lasted from like April to
to March.
What? Have you been experimenting with any drugs today before this episode, or?
I've been drinking on the macrophages, trying to get my regenerative abilities up.
I'm worried about you.
I was reading this study about macrophages, just because I'm like the dog in the fire.
Dude, you're
with the
freaking
coffee.
me out is what you're doing right now.
This is my life.
You're making me think about Charlie Day when he's putting this conspiracy theory together on It's Always Sunny and his hair's all messed up.
Yeah, that's me. There's
the guy on Ancient Aliens. It's like aliens.
That's what I'm trying to be. That's the aesthetic that I'm going for.
Wow.
That's the achieved aesthetic.
You're freaking me out is what you're doing.
I was reading about macrophages this week.
As one does. And scientists were doing them were experimenting with salamanders, and essentially they did a test run of them just like cutting off a limb of a salamander, and then it regrows in full form. Then they took all of the macrophages out of it. They found some serum that destroys the macrophages, and they cut off a limb, and then it just created a stump. They put the macrophages back into it. It didn't do anything until they cut off more of that little stump, and then it regrew into a full foot again, which is kind of crazy to think about. And this is just your light Sunday morning reading.
Yeah, but we as humans, we have macrophages in our DNA and our bodies, bloodstream areas, antibodies, whatever.
But we don't regenerate limbs.
I'm not the biologist. I'm the cryptozoologist. Yeah. But we don't regenerate like that. But we are able to regenerate.
It is weird when you think about it. We regenerate skin like that. But we can't, and that goes back mostly to form, typically. But why can't we? Is it bone? Is it? But I mean,
I don't know. Is it like our DNA? Is it how big we are that it's just hard to? But if you had a giant salamander, it would still be able to do it.
A gulper.
This makes what this makes me think of.
What?
This makes me think of the villain in Spider-Man, the the lizard man, Dr. Connors. Yeah. Dr. Connors, the lizard man. That was his whole thing. He lost his arm, and then he wanted to regrow it, and then he created that experimental serum and became Lizard Man. I don't think that's he has some like bad guy name, but he turns into a big lizard. Was it Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, the first one? Mm-hmm. Not the second one with Jamie Foxx, but the first one where they had Emma Stone with Gwen Stacy. I think that was the villain. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You got me on that?
Kurt Connors.
Yeah, that's it. So
he's just the lizard.
Oh, the lizard. That's no fun. The other thing that
original name.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was they had an interview with the Duffer Brothers, talking about the Demogorgon, and they said that it was less like Pennywise. Like, you know how Pennywise is kind of like, ooh, like I'm a demon and I'm doing magic.
I've never watched it before.
Well, we're going to. Like, that's a requirement of the show. This is going to be a required viewing come October.
Yeah,
and it's more like Jaws. And I thought that was interesting because of its ability to smell blood. And then I looked up, like, okay, how can sharks, how can you smell blood? So a lemon shark can detect tuna oil in 1 part per 25 million. So that's a regular pool. Mm-hmm. But some sharks can do 1 part per 10 billion, which is an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So if you put a drop of tuna oil in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a real fancy shark would be able to know, like, that's tuna oil.
Like, right immediately.
Got it. I know exactly where that is. Crazy, man.
That's how I am if there's Bojangles within like a square mile. I'm like,
you're like,
my radar goes off.
Oh, that's Cajun chicken filet.
Yeah.
That's a Cajun chicken filet.
Now they've added pimento cheese, baby.
Oh, pimento cheese.
Pimento cheese Cajun filet biscuit.
What?
You haven't tried it yet?
No, I have not.
Life-changing. We've diverted for 2 seconds, but if anybody hasn't tried
Bojangles pimento cheese
Cajun filet pimento cheese biscuit, it's like $3, dude.
That's a lot.
Dude, listen. I can't even get
combo,
off on this right now. I can't get off topic. We can't get off topic on this right now because I could go for hours. But that is impressive, and that is so. You're saying that in the sense of being able to smell out blood,
right? It's able to smell out blood, and then its
there's
skin
blood everywhere.
And the thing about it is, it doesn't swim; it just travels between dimensions, and it can smell blood across dimensions.
That's pretty sick,
and that's how it got Barb.
That's R.I.P. in peace.
R.I.P. in peace, baby. Barb.
I thought for sure that they were just giving us the old rope-a-dope. That it was just a little,
Gotcha.
Just, But she was really gone. She's really gone.
She went on to be in Riverdale. That's where she's been for that long. Essentially in the exact same role and look. She, when you got a group, don't broke what's fixed.
They gave us the razzle dazzle though. But I mean, hey, she, like I said, she walked so the rest of them could run.
That's true.
She sacrificed herself for her friends.
I relate to that.
It is funny how the seasons changed so much. From like season 1 was amazing, but then it was like everything just built up, and you kind of just forget about Barb. Season 3, like you don't even remember Barb, and like season 2, I guess there were still some references of her, and like, but yeah, season 3, it's like it's cool because it seems like they do pull in different like tropes and themes from certain 80s movies in each season. Like they revolve around the same things. Like I loved in season 3, this isn't a spoiler, but in season 3 how it was the mall.
Right, and it was all
centered around the mall. The 80s, the mall was the thing, and the way they brought that in, and that was such a key piece of the story, but it was also so subtle,
right?
That they were just at the mall all the time. I thought that was amazing.
It's interesting to me because the mall aesthetic, even like in Bluefield, we had a Mercer Mall, and people would come from all over, to go to Mercer Mall, and now looking at it, we got like a Hobby Lobby,
American Eagle.
I don't think the American Eagle's gone. I think.
Is it really? I thought they just remodeled it.
I thought they got rid of it. And
Bath and Body Works though.
Got Bath and Body, like
it's the best hand sanitizer in the game.
Planet Fitness.
They did, yeah. But there's like some things. It's funny because, like I said, everything's cyclical. So in the 80s, the mall came, and it even shows in season 3 how it killed downtown, and it did that for cities all across America. It killed the downtown scene, but now everyone's about shopping local again.
Oh yeah,
the downtown scenes are coming back.
That's why our mall over here
our mall
is
here,
going.
everything's closing down.
Yep.
In Bluefield, you're seeing shops pop up all over the place, Bluefield and Princeton, and all over West Virginia, different cities. So, and then obviously in bigger cities, yeah. I mean, the shopping malls are dying. Unless you're like a powerhouse shopping mall in a huge city, I think a lot of them are struggling. Which personally, I'm happy.
Cool with, because it's hard to park and go to the mall. You know, like it's a little more convenient to go downtown, in my opinion. Just of like a.
I prefer shopping downtown. I don't like the parking downtown, but I like shopping there.
And if you get used to it, I think if you get used to any city and like know okay, I know that if I go here, I can find a parking spot.
That's true.
It's fine.
I mean, we could basically walk.
That's true. Back on the subject of the shark business.
Yes.
Of Jaws. The other thing that I thought was interesting was its skin is also very thick, like a shark's, and shark skin is normally about 4 inches thick.
You gotta have
and that's why like
skin.
Bullets and stuff rarely register with the thing unless they're like really firing at it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mix between a shark and a salamander.
A gulper.
Yes, and it also has some telekinetic powers. I think that's connected to the mind flayer, though. I think that it wouldn't naturally have those powers. Like you know how I don't want to get into season 3, but you clearly see some.
Yeah,
you clearly see some stuff.
Oh yeah, that was really crazy how they had Jerry Seinfeld make that cameo in season 3.
Yeah, that was wild. Oh gosh, oh man,
it was an interesting choice. I thought from an artistic standpoint, it made sense though.
All right. So that's a rundown of the biology that I went in depth.
Yeah, there was a lot there. A lot there.
I was looking up physicists, salamander researchers.
So you did a lot of that biological work.
Right.
Which does sort of overshadow what I'm about to talk about.
I want you to talk about it, though, because you teased me about this earlier this week.
I started looking back I was like, so clearly there had to have been some origins here with the Demogorgon, where it came from, what its deal is. And it's so funny that it has become such a household name from Stranger Things as that monster, when that is in no way, shape, or form how it became popular at all. But most people, I mean, I don't want to say most people, but, you know, there's the Dungeons and Dragons community.
Right.
They'll know. But most people don't know about monsters and Dungeons and Dragons and D&D and stuff like that.
I didn't know about the Dungeons and Dragons connection really with, obviously, like I didn't know what a Demogorgon... keep on calling it.
There you go.
Because that's why I'm getting confused. Is because we had 6 stages of Dorgan, Demidorg.
Yeah, well, but yeah. So in the show, from the jump, after a gruesome scene in season 1, episode 1, but the first real people you come across are the kids playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
And in that moment, the Demogorgon attacks in the game, and at a certain point in the season, when 11 is trying to explain to the others where Will is, that he's hiding from this monster, she uses the Demogorgon piece as a stand-in for as representing the monster. And then from that point on, it's just the Demogorgon.
It's the Demogorgon.
The monster is the Demogorgon. So immediate origin for Stranger Things is Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
But then I was looking back further and further to try to figure out where did
this weird
where did this monster
from?
Because in Dungeons and Dragons the monster doesn't look like the monster in
it doesn't have 6 stages of Dorgador.
Yeah, it's not like that.
The six stages of Dorgador.
I looked back through and there are several references throughout thousands of years of this. Or not, maybe not, I don't want to say thousands, but over, I guess, throughout our modern history.
Right.
So one of probably the most popular was in the 1800s from Percy Shelley, Prometheus Unbound. And in that, the Demogorgon is portrayed as not like a creature like it is in Stranger Things. Or Dungeons and Dragons, but it's described as a dark, shapeless god that resides in a cave deep in the underworld, which is equally probably actually more
that's kinda
terrifying.
that's like proto Lovecraft kind
Yeah.
of situation.
So it is very just ominous in a different way. So here is, I believe, an excerpt from this.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
I see a mighty darkness filling the seat of power and rays of gloom dart round as light from the meridian sun, ungazed upon and shapeless, neither limb nor form nor outline, yet we feel it is a living spirit. Which, almost in that way, the way that Will could like feel it with like the mind flayer type of thing,
yeah,
like
the hairs on his neck.
Yeah,
stand
it
up,
was like
and he
there.
kinda gets like a chill.
It was there, but it was in the other dimension, so they couldn't see it in their
Right.
dimension at the time.
Right.
But like it was still there, and it was like a being. So that's kind of, I don't know. It's like,
Well, that's how we thought about the smoke. Like I called it the smoke monster because it
Yeah.
just looked like a big the mind flare. Yeah, I call it in my head. I call it the smoke monster.
Right.
And I've always referred to it as the smoke monster.
I always just think about the scene in season 2 where it like overtakes him and he's like freaking out.
and he's like, ooh.
yeah, like possessed. But then it goes further back to the Middle Ages.
The Middle Ages. Wait. It goes back to it goes from this book. It was a book to the middle. What's happening here?
It's just like I kept finding further and
You
further
kept on
back.
going. Oh man!
That there were,
See
that,
now
the
you're
Prometheus. That was probably one of the more notable ones that people
notable
know.
ones. Yeah.
But there, John Milton, Paradise Lost.
Okay. Yeah.
If we go even to we'll go to 1667 here. He had a poem about the fall of man, and the Demogorgon is, quote, the dreaded name. And he is explained as an ancestor of the gods in ancient mythology. So there's a lot of like god demon sort of
Language going about
continuous, very consistent themes with this thing. Like it's a very like all powerful being.
being yes.
So yeah, in that way, it's an ancestor of the gods. And if you look through, I've personally never read Paradise Lost. I probably should have.
In college, one of my roommates did, and he like tore his hair out for most of that. And got really into it, and just like anytime you talk to him, he'd be like, "What's man's folly?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm drinking some orange juice,
Yeah.
trying to play some Halo 2, man.
Chill,
Come
dog,
on."
you're freaking me out. There were other poems and stories throughout the years that, again, really consistent. One of them, the Fairy Queen, I believe is what it was called. Edmund Spencer. The Demogorgon is one of the rulers of hell. So like in the first one, the Percy Shelley, it was like an underworld creature. So there's a lot of like demonic sort of overseeing themes in it.
And how the upside down kind of looks, it's like a warped, like void of our world.
It's like an in the show, it literally sometimes does like a 180 flip with the camera to show that you.
Those are always cool shots.
It like just continuous shot upside down. There's been a lot of, even apparently in Moby Dick, the whale is described as a Demogorgon. There was a reference by Hunter S. Thompson in the Rum Diary of he name dropped the Demogorgon.
What are these people? This is wild.
I think it's always been there. It's just until now we've never realized that
it's never been in like the public.
Yeah,
sphere.
it's always just been like a being, like an entity of some sort.
So this is what this show's about. This is like we're decrypting these.
We're trying to give you
decrypting
right
these like pop culture things, like breaking them down.
Like in Percy Shelley, it literally it overthrows Jupiter, who's king of the gods. I actually misread that, but it overthrows a king of the gods. So obviously a very powerful being, and then that's like I said, in that way, it's a dark, shapeless god. So it's like, how do you stop that? It doesn't even have a shape. I don't know. But I kept reading through, and ultimately, I came to what is the oldest mention.
So this is like this is where it started.
Yes. 5th century.
Wow.
So we're going way back.
That's like Dark Ages.
Yeah. It was a Roman poet. I'm going to butcher this name. Lactantius Placidus.
Yeah, sounds like that he was a cousin of Uriel Septim in Elder Scrolls of Blue.
So they referenced, quote, the Demogorgon, the supreme god, whose name it is not permitted to know. Now that just sounds weird to me, but a lot of scholars have concluded that the Demogorgon that this person was speaking of was actually misconstrued from the word demiurge, which is a creator of the physical world. So basically, Demogorgon they think just came from a typo. Like that's how it even started. So literally, you date it back. You think you go back to the 5th century. You go all the way back to the 5th century. You're like, this is going to be good. Like there's going to be some like deep philosophical, mythological meaning.
Right.
No, he just miswrote it, and then it just took off. Like he just misinterpreted the word when he wrote it.
Yeah, and
translated
people are like,
it. I don't know.
that sounds cool.
Yeah, so it just turned, which like demiurge, decent name. Demogorgon, it's pretty gnarly. So I'm glad that it happened.
Well, it's kind of like gargoyle, you know? Like it says it this like
Gargoyle, yeah.
It has
There are
that
just
same,
certain
like,
words. Yeah, there are certain words you're like, that's dark.
Right.
And the gargoyle is one of those things. But a demogorgon, yeah, I don't know, man. It's just while I was looking back and trying to figure this stuff out, I was expecting it to be some old tale from the 5th century that would just terrify people.
Right.
But no, it was
it's just this dude that was like,
Yeah.
I wrote this wrong.
It was a typo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from. It's kind of it's to me it's hilariously anticlimactic.
It's like
it's just
all of these like people referencing this darkness and
Yeah.
this like entity and this evil thing, and then it's a typo.
and then you get there and it's like oop. So that's the Demogorgon in a nutshell. It makes it a little less scary, I guess.
It does.
You know, I'm sure we will have some creatures on this show that we don't feel as good about at the end. But
yeah,
the Demogorgon
is
on the hot seat for being scary now.
and it's kind of made up. You know, I mean, some of these aren't made up. This one's a little made up.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Thompson wrote about it, so it can't be that scary, right?
I mean,
I don't know. So yeah, there you go. History of the Demogorgon.
that's a good. Oh man, look at us. We're coming up from, but we're like, oh man, we're like, what is it? Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. We're like Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, or like
Bobby Boucher and his daddy.
Yeah.
What was it? Bobby, we could be like Tiger. I saw you on ESPN. We could be like Tiger Woods and his daddy. No, yeah, we're getting our footing.
Let me tell you, we've spent a
You're
year.
a literal cryptozoologist now. So
I mean, that's true. I have the diploma. I have the diploma, by the way. I can put my eyes on it, and I got it in an express mail. If you're not familiar, I have a certificate of achievement and diploma in cryptozoology that I ended up paying a sum of money for and took an exam. And I passed my exam and therefore got the certificate of achievement diploma in cryptozoology from the International Paranormal Institute. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah.
But I have that in the mail, and it said "Do not bend" on it, and they bent it. So customs.
Disregard that part.
What can you do? You know,
it is what it is. But we're proud of you. We will celebrate at the Mothman Festival
celebrate.
this year.
Well,
we need everybody there with us.
I'm like the bookie one. You're like the photojournalist dude. Like you're out there living for the experience. You're like in it. You're in it.
Yeah.
You're with it.
More hands-on. I don't know.
More hands-on, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm like the intelligence officer in the CIA. You're like the secret agent.
Ooh, I like that.
Like you're out there. I am like Q, and I'm giving you the Aston Martin, and you're like James Bond, and you're
It
like
makes me think of
making some weird masculine joke.
I don't know why, but the scene from Ferris Bueller where they're in Rooney's office and she goes, "Ed, you sounded like Dirty Harry right there." That like you telling me that I'm like the secret operative. That just, man, What a day. What a time, folks.
I think
what a
you're
time.
an agent of Mothman. I think you're the agent. You're
Okay.
You're the agent of Mothmanery.
All right. Well, I'll take it. You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. We come up with a million titles for you. I could come up. I mean, we could just Agent of Mothmanery Esquire.
Oh, Lord. For everybody that's already listened to us, this is nothing new, but if this is your first episode, this is exactly what to expect.
This is where it's at.
Every week.
This is what you're going to get.
We are going to go way off the rails with a lot of just ridiculous things,
Yes.
but we always find our way back.
Getting back to it, as we have had in the past, one of our last segments that we do is we take stories from our community and listeners that submit them in about cryptids and bizarre things happening out in the world. And this one is from our Discord. Now, instead of just the email, we don't have an official send it in the email stuff. Tweeted us a story, send it to us on Facebook or on Instagram. I guess in a DM. I don't know if you can It's probably best to
slide on in there.
Slide if you want to. Best way to do is Discord and Twitter. That's where I check and I get a lot of these. Essentially, most of our stories are coming from Discord.
Yeah.
So join that. Follow us on Twitter. Go to Instagram. Follow us there. Go to Facebook. Follow us there. We're on all the platforms, and links for that are in the show description. This story is from Legion Bats, one of our listeners, dear friend of the podcast. The Freetown Police Department has ordered the placement of a crossing warning sign to call attention and alert motorists to unexpected entries onto the highway that may call for a reduction of speed or immediate action in the interest of traffic safety. The location of this crossing warning sign is on Slab Bridge Road, approximately 500 yards northwest of the entrance of the Freetown State Forest headquarters. However, these crossing conflicts may occur randomly over a segment of roadway and all along the property of Freetown State Forest. Animals on the road are a major cause of crashes in this area of Freetown and are becoming more frequent. As a result, crashes can result in significant property damage or serious injury to drivers and passengers. In the past, the installation of deer crossing signs are the most widely used measure to reduce animal vehicle collisions. However, we feel that the installation of just another deer crossing warning sign would only contribute to the overuse of these signs and lead to the general disregard by the motoring public. Plus, it does not identify the real problem at hand, the Pukuwuji.
Good job.
The Pukuwuji.
We'll take it.
It has been widely reported that the Freetown State Forest is home to these mythical creatures known as the Pukuwujis. The danger of the Pukuwujis, which I am loving saying, oh my gosh, the danger of the Pukuwujis present this motoring... Excuse me. Let me go back. I don't love saying it anymore.
Out.
It was so much Pukuwuji that I Pukuwuji'd myself.
Oh my God.
The danger of the Pukuwujis present to the motoring public is that they can appear and disappear at will by using their magical powers.
That's pretty sick.
They are also known to shoot poison arrows near and across the roadway in violation of MGL Chapter 131, Section 58.
I'm glad they got technical with it.
It is believed that the Pukuwujis also have the following traits and abilities. They are masters at remaining undetected in the forest.
Hold up, wait. So they can just reappear and disappear, blah, 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 and shoot poison arrows. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more, yes. Masters of remaining undetected in the forest. They can transform into a walking porcupine. They can create a fire at will. Don't worry, the Freetown Fire Department and State Forest Fire Control have countermeasures in place. And they control...
Thank God.
And they control the spirits of their deceased victims. Unfortunately, we have no countermeasures for this. Lastly, so the crossing warning sign does not lose its effectiveness. We have contacted local experts to certify the continued use of this sign and when it should be removed. As of right now, the sign will be posted during the mating season of the Pukuwuji.
They mate?
Where they
if they can do everything else, why do they have to? They have to mate though. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, it must be something. Where they are most likely to be crossing the roadway in search of a mate. This year, it is believed that the season begins at the end of April Fool's Day. I love that. I love that a lot. It's like, the Pukuwuji mating season's at the end of April Fool's Day. That's where they get together and they are able to consummate under the cover of forest and craft their poison arrows. So
I just took that as that whole thing was an April Fool's joke. So
I mean,
I want to believe they're real.
I want to believe too, but I enjoy it. If you can go online, you can find the sign for the Pukabuchi. This is an actual thing that occurred. This is a real. It's like did it.
Did you ever go snipe hunting?
Oh, you're not familiar with snipe hunting? I'm familiar with snipe hunting.
That's like the hardcore version of snipe hunting.
The Pukabuchi?
You sent somebody Pukabuchi hunting.
Yeah, the Pukabuchi has more of like a danger element to it.
Yeah.
The snipe, in my opinion, has no danger element to it.
Snipe hunting,
Describe to me what snipe hunting is, because
I don't want to ruin it. I think that it's a secret, community. I don't want to like spoil it on air. I don't want to.
Yeah, that's true. I thought about it.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. If you don't know what a snipe hunt is, feel free to message us. Mm-hmm. We can let you know. Mm-hmm. We could take you.
This is similar to my father-in-law has this little horse puzzle, and it's this little piece of paper, and it's got this horse on it that's like kind of funky, and it's like if you can make this horse run without ripping, tearing, or folding the paper, then you figure out the puzzle. And it's a puzzle he got in a Cracker Jack box, and I thought about looking it up, but I haven't yet because I want to figure it out for myself.
Well, if you want to go snipe hunting, we will take you snipe hunting.
I will take it. Any listener that wants to go snipe hunting, I can do it remotely.
They are running rampant in West Virginia.
They are continually running rampant. And we do not have enough hunters.
Exactly. So we could use some help
for sniping.
It's been a while since I've sniped. My dad took me snipe hunting when I was about 10. We were camping, and I had never heard of a thing called a snipe. And I was amazed.
And you were amazed when you figured out what a snipe was.
Yeah.
I found out about snipes off-site.
I was out there for about an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this you really got out there for an hour looking for the snipe? Wow.
Finally came to me. Yeah.
It came to you. Yeah.
So, just let us know. We'll take you snipe hunting.
Let us know. So you can always, as always, you can submit those headlines, any kind of interesting information, facts, your local cryptids and stuff into it. I thought that this one was particularly good about the Pukabuchi, and I will put that in the cryptid pantheon of cryptids.
You got real pumped when you said pantheon.
This is the cryptid pantheon. That's what I want. Pantheon.
I like it.
Pantheon. I wanted to be called the Pantheon.
The Pantheon.
Pantheon.
You got a pantheon. All right.
All right. All right, so for this week, that's all we have. Feel free, don't forget to follow us on social media. Do all of that good stuff on there. If we can let's come up with an intro, an outro on the fly. What do you want to outro these people to?
I was thinking about this for a while, and I came up with this.
Okay.
From holler to highway, we've got you covered 6 ways to Sunday.
Perfect. This podcast was hosted by Dave Chapins and Austin O'Connor. Find them on Twitter at CryptidCastDave and OCO_photo. Music produced by Dave Chapins. Artwork by James Addison. Links to our social media and merch are down in the description below.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net. Hi, I'm Sebastian Azaro, and I'm inviting you to the Hidden Pixels podcast, a show exploring those gaming stories you might have missed on your first playthrough, whether it's a side character's dark past or a small piece of information that changes the entire fictional universe. I'd like to share with story lovers and gamers alike. From Nintendo to Bethesda to your favorite indie games, we're looking at all different types of series to find these hidden stories. So join us every 2 weeks on the Hidden Pixels podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other podcatcher. I can't wait to share these stories with you. Thanks.